top laner. You play a lot of Maokai when you transition to top lane. That's a champion that's quite forgiving, that excels in lane swaps. It's very reliable. Maokai's always going to look great for new players to the role. It's the other champions that take a while to build up. So get those shallow champion pools, attack them if you're RNG, and I think this is a game they should come in full of confidence.
Well, they've started off already with just that here. Alistar actually the first ban for OMG as we get into the draft. LeBlanc follows up there as well against Xiaohu, so I like the pick there, but Gragas immediately the first pick away from RNG.
Savvy, and it's such a big difference. 8.4 KD to 0.85 between Zhuezhu and Gragas in 2 games and his other 2 matches. Of course, a very small sample size, but his Nidalee in particular left a lot to be desired. So attack those shallow champion pools and see what shakes out.
Yeah, Kalista ban there again, so poor Uzi almost never going to see the champion again. He's lost on it, honestly, but looked fantastic, so makes sense that they want to take it away. OMG, of course, considering their next ban here as well. Curious to see where they throw it. I imagine it will be a fairly standard ban, but it is actually 2 Let Me there in the top lane. Hecarim taken away.
I think you need to take away the Maokai. Both sides of the Cassiopeia versus Xia matchups up, so no real need to ban one of those champions. Nothing else shouting out at me. Maybe Rek'Sai. I feel like Maokai will be snapped up if it's available. They actually ban out one of the 2, but at least now they present a question. Do you want the really strong ganking jungler Rek'Sai? Do you want to pick up one side of this matchup that's been so strong amid the Cassiopeia, or do you want to go for that Maokai? There's so many options. If they lock in the other 2, I feel like that's a really good trade from RNG.
Well, it is Rek'Sai first there for OMG, which has been a very popular first pick, I have to say. A very strong jungler has continued to be since release here. RNG, though, considering in the next few picks, I believe you mentioned it already, they've kind of got them lined up based on the way they've drafted here. But we'll have to see. I mean, flicking around a couple of interesting champions so far. They're going to settle on Sivir, and looks like Thresh as well.
I think the Thresh priority is a bit too far. Again, maybe it's another one of those champion pool issues with Amazing. Maybe they've identified that Amazing's Thresh is a really above his level of performance on other champions. But it does surprise me because, again, some of those picks we just uttered, like Cassiopeia, are available. But this is just the reality, I feel, of 5.8 in a 4.8, sorry, in a meta that's kind of been discovered a little bit. 5.8, 4.8, one of those two. 5.8 is that there's a lot of strong champions. Getting Maokai in the 3rd rotation, though, super surprising.
Yeah, Xiang's going to continue to hide a bit of that champion pool as Maokai is the lock-in almost instantly there for Cool, considering supports it looks like as well for OMG. But again, with Cassiopeia open, nobody wants to commit to it. I feel like both mid laners have a decent counter pick that they're happy to play here. So she might actually drop through picks and bans, which will be surprising, but I guess not that surprising given the turn of events. It is Nautilus though for OMG. They're going to keep things fairly safe for now.
Yeah, they get Maokai crucially onto Zhang. This is a champion who's already looked good on. This is a champion that's very reliable and can really deal with lane sorts, with 2v2s, with a support laning in 2v2. So flexible. I think it's important that you lock it in with a top lane that's still developing a champion pool like Zhang. What do RNG want to pick up? Xiaohu definitely was always more comfortable on the Azir side of the matchup, had to ban it out himself. They're looking for lane power. Lee Sin and Na, is a lot of lane power to go with this Sivir Thresh.
And I guess with Clearlove playing the Pantheon today, Warrior, you kind of mentioned it a week or so ago, but starting to maybe rotate itself back into the meta despite Cinderhulk's prominence. MLXG, though, goes back to an old favorite. It is Lee Sin Na as RNG's 3rd and 4th picks.
If my memory doesn't fail me, I believe he was the only person to go Warrior Rek'Sai last season. OMG, I see your smiles. They're considering the Yasuo. They don't have a lot of magic damage, so it would be maybe erring too much on the side, but they need damage from their last 2 picks because Rek'Sai, Nautilus, and Maokai not offering a lot. Suddenly they transition to a huge amount of damage.
All these picks that OMG are going through will make any old school OMG fan smile. We saw Lucian's another classic Uzi champion. Caitlyn was in there for a second, almost lost my mind, but these will be a fairly solid addition. It is Uzi on the Lucian, and Cool's going to last pick Cassiopeia.
So what will be the last pick for Xiaohu in the mid lane? He needs damage. Orianna's the most obvious champion. They have good ball carriers for him. But it's risky. There's not a lot of damage in general down this RNG lineup. You'd have to give the advantage over to OMG. Xiaohu has definitely a deep champion pool. Mid Lucian, other kind of innovative picks he's played, but they need AP damage. It looks like they have to rely on burst because there's not a lot of favorable matchups against Cassiopeia.
I mean, yeah, sorry. I thought it was Azir for a second, and no, you're right. Cassiopeia, much trickier. We've seen this matchup already as it is Orianna that's locked in there, sorry, up in the top lane briefly as they swap the champions around. But OMG's draft looks really solid. They've got, again, great jungle pick. Safe picks for their new players, especially. That's probably the biggest one with Nautilus, Maokai, and Rek'Sai filling out. And their 2 carries for OMG. Cool's gotten Cass, Uzi's gotten Lucian. Can't ask for much better there, and RNG sort of had to take whatever was left.
RNG's got a very good mid-game comp, but honestly, OMG have a better one, and they have more damage. So it feels like OMG ate their lunch in a sense here, and really have the advantage coming out from picks and bans. Not to say RNG have made any big errors, and maybe this will be the matchup that really juggles it to one advantage or the other. Rek'Sai and Lee Sin, super early presence junglers from both sides.
Yeah, and Uzi, we would expect him to play well, but against Sivir it could be tricky. Supports are just fine, lots of engage coming through. I think the mid lane matchup's the one I want to keep an eye on here, because Cool, he is instrumental in OMG wins or losses. When he plays well, his team looks almost unbeatable. He looks like one of the best mid laners in the world. But when he's not doing well, his team, despite Uzi's best efforts, just can't quite get it done. They're still learning together as a team as well. They need these veteran carries to come out and do it big. And Cool is on Cassiopeia. If you can't make it work on this champion in this meta, I don't know what to tell you.
And we have a really recent data point. Last game, Dade was able to power out an Orianna as Cassiopeia. Feels like Cassio has the natural pressure advantage of this matchup. Jungler's going to have to do a lot of work. I want to see the Warrior enchant from MLXG again. Just pull out the brute power damage early and snowball this game for your team.
Well, we'll see what snowball happens here as we're about to get into our first game. And welcome back onto the Rift for our first game between OMG and RNG, our last best of 2 of the evening. Both teams actually searching for more wins here. Coming into this week number 2 at 2-2 means that either team can either keep the record neutral or get ahead and get their first 2-0 and launch ahead in the points.
And it feels fitting that 2 teams that we've kind of said are in the same point of development as a team with relatively new lineups. RNG, of course, completely new, and OMG 3 out of 5 changing. That they've picked very similar identities. Lots of mid-game power. It feels like OMG may have got the better just from being the team to actually risk the Cassiopeia early. Cole's kind of baiting a death sentence, but don't feel there's too much kill pressure from RNG.
Yeah, nice juke there, actually. Make sure that Lei does not land that down onto him, but doesn't get any passive stack, so a slight trade-off there as RNG all stacked together, going to get a nice ward onto the Krugs, but no other deep vision coming down just yet.
And so just returning to the fact that it's so equal, it's the junglers that it's all about. MLXG versus Zhuezhui, much newer to, of course, the LPL. Zhuezhui, MLXG has the experience. He's gone back to the aggressive champions. I always kind of compared him to TBQ, and TBQ moved with the meta so well in the Cinderhulk meta. MLXG kind of always stuck as this Lee Sin Rengar player, known for much more the aggression. He went with the Warrior Rek'Sai. Warrior Lee Sin could do a lot of work, and RNG, they really want to snowball the early game.
Excellent late invade on the Raptors there for RNG, but this actually might turn into a bloodbath early on. Zhuezhui actually has the Krugs watered, so good vision for RNG. He's going to decimate this jungle. He does get the small Krug. He's going to try and take the big one as well, but the red buff's already been taken away by MLXG, and he might just run back to his other buff. In fact, he wants the other one, takes the other Krug, and Rek'Sai is horribly behind at level 1.
And crazily, this actually has shades of whenever we saw Loveling, the previous OMG jungler, play against anyone he didn't respect, anyone who was new to the league. He would get in their faces, Lee Sin, and counter jungler on. And MLXG is doing the same thing, and he's not done.
Yeah, level 2 getting onto Uzi now. Amazing level 1. So the hook is going to go, and they want Uzi. That's who they're trying to take away. Hook lands instead onto Amazing. Q's landed in. Ignite goes down. Auto comes through, and Amazing just lives.
This is a great early game plan by RNG. They recognize they are, for once, the experienced team against a new lineup like OMG. Blowing flashes abound in bottom. Great play by RNG.
It's excellent so far, and nice to see Lee Sin maybe creeping his way back into the Cinderhulk metagame. We talk about it all the time. These tank junglers, you can take advantage of them with champions like Lee Sin. Even Clearlove's Pantheon today, similar sort of idea. And MLXG coming back for a second time round.
So it might be Lantern already skilled. You'd have to think. No Lantern actually, just going to go in.
Going for Amazing. He's got no summoners left. Uzi looks on his support and says, sorry mate, can't do anything, as Sivir is going to claim first blood.
Just really poor lane control from OMG. They knew that Lee Sin was on this side of the jungle. They both had their flashes down, suddenly found a situation where they'd push the minion wave in and justifiably punish. Great early game pathing from MLXG has really snowballed a bigger lead than is indicated by the 500 goal.
Yeah, Woosh going to keep the wave here and freeze it. Uzi getting zoned out by Lei there as well. And Cool getting pushed in early on. I guess not unsurprising in the Cassiopeia Orianna matchup, but We already talked about Cool needing to do some lifting early on. I think he's already looking down on the bottom lane saying, yep, okay, this is this sort of game.
And I feel like RNG strategy, let the mid lane be a farm fest and prey upon specifically the new members. So far, have gotten way in the face with the late invade on Zhuezhe. Love that play. It's something we didn't see enough in the Sejuani matchups last season when we said, okay, Sejuani's weakest levels 1 to 4 in her jungle clear, go and punish her. Didn't see that a lot. Now against a new jungler, get in his face and punish him. Ensure that there's no situation where the naturally strong laners like Uzi and Cool can set up a victory on a platter for a new jungler. Suddenly the jungler's behind, and from what we've seen, Zhuezhe's not assertive enough to go and answer with a buff steal, so he's going to get 3 buffs.
Yeah, it looks like he is just getting 3 buff now as MLXG makes his way over to his own red buff now as well. Amazing has returned in the bottom side though, so Lind will equalize ever so slightly as the duo returns there for OMG. Xiang actually equal on CS now as Let Me was holding the wave, but Markai is back up with double Durance to try and break it. And as we sort of reset here, a decent early lead for RNG, but they've got to keep compounding. And MLXG, we're going to look to him once again. Where does he go next?
I mean, the excitement is, do we see a Ruby Crystal or do we see a Longsword? Because he's, of course, finished in the Chill and Smite. Waiting to see after that whether we do see the more damage-orientated build. He did it on the Rex side. I think this is the game for it, but there's also that older school of thought. You're already winning the early game. Your base values are pretty good. Maybe just go Cinderhulk as insurance. He walks through a pink, but he's bottom again.
Yeah, maybe just getting the bottom lane. It's actually 3v3. Uzi going to come through. Rek'Sai going to try and make it work. Whoosh getting far too low. Uzi wants to kill, but MLXG dives in. Whoosh goes down, but MLXG answers it. And now Lee Sin actually maybe getting chased around. OMG got the better of the trade, but a very nice ward hop keeps him safe. And MLXG making work happen in a pretty precarious situation.
But that time it was smart play from OMG. They had Zhuezhe in the brush. He already had the Raptor sense, so he knew that there was no ward in that brush. So he was happy, knew what was happening, had the extra information with the Tremor sense as well. So just with all that extra information, they overtook that mid lane. And Xiaohu's got no mana, so Cool gets free pressure.
Yeah, and this is every Cassiopeia matchup. The poison lands, and you must run away here. Level 6 though for Xiaohu, but low on mana is going to mean it's a bit of a tricky proposition to try and pressure onto Cool. And if that Q hit, I think Cool's going all in.
Yeah, Xiaohu got greedy. Honestly, he wanted to push the minion wave in so he could get the freest back. But after taking that bad trade, just back out if you're Xiaohu. Go back and pick up your Chalice. You already had the gold for it with the 44 CS you'd picked up.
Oh, he's actually greedy. He might die actually here as well. Cool's going in. He's flash ignited. Xiaohu is ticking down, I have to assume, off screen, but Xiaohu backed in a very greedy place once again and almost pays for it with his life.
And that was one of those fights you could feel in yourself with just the health bars falling down. All summoner spells used. Xiaohu lived. But he's another one of these youthful players. It's a mistake that he got so greedy with the backs.
Flash play there from Layers. Amazing reach
back.
run. Yeah, MLXG back in the bottom side. Amazing now. Going to be the next target. A great Q to dodge the other Q and close out some distance. And Uzi's safe this time.
They're just really bored of this Lee Sin pressure if you're OMG. That's 4 ganks in the bottom after the level 2, I believe, so far. A lot of attention. This is definitely the lane matchup that had the potential to go the worst for RNG, so I guess the pressure's probably justified.
And Shui starting to take some Raptors now as well. Going to counter jungle MLXG. He can't match him pressure right now as Xiaohu does get the big Raptor, I believe, so a bit of a denial there, but level 5 for the Rek'Sai going to clean through the enemy jungle as best he can. A good hook for Amazing lands in. Uzi going to dive his way back through, but Whoosh, a nice trade actually. Leaves OMG's dual lane slightly behind there.
MLXG answers the question. It's going to be the Cinderhulk. I mean, they went good early game, so I can understand it, but the no damage potential. If Xiaohu misses the ultimate especially, but just in general with Whoosh, Sivir, Orianna, not known for their late game damage.
No, and they're going to have to try and pressure where they can. Let Me actually teleporting down to the bottom side. And now Uzi, not into a wall, is going to go down to Whoosh. It was Xiang's teleport that turned it 2-for-1 before, but it's Let Me's this time that gives him a free kill onto OMG's AD carry.
So overall, between the 2 teleports, 2 and 2, they're going to maybe continue the freeze. No, it looks like they're going to aggressive and push in as well. Both teleports get an advantage. Don't know if I like the trade of just a kill for a teleport as a rule, though, from Let Me.
Looking for Dragon, I think, might be the difference here as Xiang pressuring on the top side with Let Me moving, but not quite enough damage onto the turret. They have started off the Dragon. Lay's going to pull the Lantern as MLXG will join in as well. And I agree with you, the push maybe not that good, but I do like this trade.
If Na keeps up the turret, that's fine, especially if they can continue this laning phase when Na has a turret to retreat to, but also plays the majority of the laning phase under the turret of Maokai, ensuring that Maokai is super culpable if he ever does teleport away and he can push down the turret. You need turret pushing threat from Let Me, so you can't let your turret fall down and give Maokai lots of space to get those sick teleports that a lot of the home guard Maokais, like Koro from EDG, have been able to put to good use. The turret stays up, the dragon goes down. Good trade overall from RNG.
Yeah, again, still a decent lead, about 700 gold up as Uzi returns to the bottom side. Pickaxe actually for both AD carries as Whoosh goes back, and now it's a BF sword. So that gold lead, it's pretty much all in the bottom lane at this point, and Uzi, I have to imagine he's missing a shot there because he's horribly behind in AD.
He has bought boots and the attack speed though, so we're talking about 700 gold spent on not a BF sword. So maybe would have had similar gold. With the CS values, a kill's about 300 gold, so we're talking about, what, 12 CS in that case. He probably would have been close to a BF sword at this point, but there's no big buys, no BF sword buy coming anytime soon, unless we see some bloodthirsty action in bot.
I mean, we've seen a lot of it already, so don't worry too yet. It might just be coming as cool. Tear of the Goddess built up already. Actually, a non-magic mantle with his boots once, so going to look for the Dade boots potentially. Moving in for that Merc Treads. Again, plenty of decent CC, I guess, to try and get out of. So I don't mind it, especially with the fact that he's gone the more aggressive Ignite.
Speaking of aggression, I think Let Me, I don't mind the Spectre's Cowl first, but I think the damage needs to start now. Even if it's a Phage into a Black Cleaver, that's the minimum I think you need to go for. If you just go full tank Gnar and don't have a split push option, the team fight's already being so situational. Yes, you could see an amazing wombo combo, Orianna ult into the Gnar ultimate, but you probably won't see that on average. It's going to be a lot harder to set up, a lot of situational stuff to discuss there. Let Me needs to add an extra dimension to their play with either the Black Cleaver or, I guess, a Frozen Mallet would be a decent substitute.
I mean, he's got the crystal, so he's got plenty of options as far as those aggressive build parts go as well. I agree. I think it suits Let Me as well. Xiang actually going to dive in. Shui Shui moving in with a Chilling Smite. Flash not unborrowed, though, and that's not going to be a knock-up. And Let Me skirts his way off to safety.
Shui Shui been the biggest question mark so far this game after getting invaded, and now the mechanics in that situation. Believe he spotted out Lee Sin. Speaking of spotted out.
Yeah, 2v2 now is amazing. Dives in, but Uzi's forced to back off after Whoosh comes in with a big trade. And the AD disadvantage here means Uzi's losing in CS now and starting to fall further and further behind. Uzi's Lucian and Uzi in general, usually known for aggressively contesting every CS from his opponent, but not this time, not against the young upstart Whoosh.
It's kind of the downside of a champion like Nautilus. It's just like Alistair, it's either an all-in trade or just nothing at all, no lane presence. So he's just trying to be cute, going for the hooks when he can, looking to get, you know, one of Lei and Whoosh scared or backing away and missing out on autos, but they've got so much extra AD that they're just standing up, winning trades on both members. And it's just panic stations for OMG's bottom lane. They're keeping competitive and in top.
Yeah, Xiang going in, but Let Me now Mega Gnar, so Maokai rightfully backs off from the situation. Catalyst has been built up, so Maokai going to continue splitting farm like he is wont to do in almost every matchup. Rek'Sai back up there as well, but a very optimistic looking gank as Xiaohu keeping competitive in the mid lane after Cool's early aggression. The tier maybe not adding quite enough as far as combat stats go, but plenty of base stats for Cassiopeia to lean on. I think Cool might need to start either winning his lane harder or influence the next big fight, because OMG right now, just sitting in this spot with RNG already 1,000 gold ahead, that's not a winning recipe moving into the mid-game.
I think whatever comes out of this non-magic mantle, it's going to be a squishier build than Dade put together from Xiaohu. So in a team that does only really have mid-game burst, that's probably a good thing if you're RNG. There is the potential you can burst down Cool. I imagine he's going to rush the Seraphs and be situationally tanky with the Seraph shield. The null magic mantle, I can only guess, is going to be an Abyssal Scepter, which kind of interacts with the burst damage from Orianna in a similar way, but isn't as reliable against mixed types of damage compared to the Giant's Belt. They won't have the Rylai's for the consistent slow, but this is not a surprising build from Cassiopeia players. Not all of them go towards the Rise. Some of them just prefer the earlier Seraphs, and they just start pumping the AP because you've got that passive. Eventually in the game, we're talking about massive stacks of percentage bonus AP from both the death cap and, of course, that aspect of the Serpent, the highest level.
Yeah, so things proceeding as normal there in the mid lane, and actually in the top lane as well. Xiang already has a Righteous Glory completed at 13 minutes, so teamfight potential is being unlocked. Cool goes back as an Archangel's done now as well, so going to build even quicker towards that Seraphs. Athene's there for Xiao, who's done Infinity Edge actually for Whoosh. Means that Uzi is outclassed now, despite the decent Berserker Greaves plus double AD items here. It's going to be a pretty interesting Dragon fight in a minute 10, and RNG are already up one.
So it's always two schools of thought with Maokai items. It's either the Righteous Glory Rush or you build Catalyst into Spectre's Cowl and build a bit of armor with the Glacial Shroud. You go for the thrift shopping in terms, just a bit of everything. I think it makes a lot of sense to go Righteous Glory because you know you're against... It's not a blind pick game, so it's not mirror matches, but it's basically the same identity to both comps. If you go for the earlier power spikes, so Seraph's Embrace probably going to be available, what, 16 minutes into this game? He's going to be charging up very, very fast. You've got the Righteous Glory. Turn Dragon into a win condition. Pick up this one to equal things, and because you're going for early power spikes, ensure that your win condition, your unique win condition is, okay, we've got 4 dragons, what are you going to do about it? When the comps are very similar, wherever you can get advantages in the neutrals, just compound. It's not multiplicative scaling, but it's just something different that the comps don't necessarily provide innately.
Yeah, I mean, there's only... I guess there isn't only like one team that can get 5 dragons, but realistically, only one team should be getting 5 dragons in a given game, and only one can hold it, I guess, is the best thing to say. So you're right, it is unique win condition, which is interesting here is Whoosh doing well on the bottom lane. I mean, things are going fine as everything can go here, but Cool's going to rotate over, get his blue buff. Dragon actually is already down, so no, it actually just respawning, excuse me, so is now available, but Cool over at his blue might mean that RNG just go straight for it.
I think you do if you're OMG, though. You've got the Righteous Glory. It's soon going to be the Spectre. It's soon going to be the Seraphs, but you're right on the money. They're in vision at this point, but they're on timer. The blue timer and the dragon awkwardly at exactly the same time. Cassio needs the blue for control onto Orianna because it has a much more reliable ranged wave clear, so you really need to pick up the blue buff. Blue buff goes to Cassio. Second dragon, though, and this unique win condition, at least at the start of the game, it's with RNG.
Oh, great hook there from Amazing. Spell Shield runs out. Depth Charge follows in. Lei tries to zone them out. Pops the box there as Uzi gets the culling down, but very well played. Does not quite reward OMG with the kill they wanted, but despite the item disadvantage, Uzi with his support, Amazing, starting to get ahead.
Rek'Sai pathing towards bottom. I think you just rush down this turret. Try and punish them. Lucian has excellent turret damage, especially when he doesn't have to regard any threat, and there's no threats anywhere near the bottom lane. So this is the time to finally punish them with your first objective if you're OMG. This will actually put them in a slight gold lead after picking up the turret. Phage is picked up in top, so it will be the Black Cleaver, so smart of Let Me to go more on the damage than we saw last game coming out of Aluka.
Yeah, has the Spectre Skull early on just to help the lane, but I like the more aggressive pickup here for Let Me, and as I kind of said before, I think it not only fits what RNG want to be doing as far as creating unique win conditions for their team that the compositions wouldn't otherwise inform, but it just suits Let Me as a player. He's a bit more of a carry top laner, still able to, play the tanks well and be a role player, but has branched out, likes to play, more of the carry-oriented champion. So this is sort of a nice middle ground for a player like Let Me.
And now if Let Me and Whoosh are focusing the same target in a fight, assuming that we do see the Black Cleaver completed, 30% armor shred, Sivir with an auto-attack cancel, 2 crits come in, someone's health bar completely disappears. Now Maokai isn't quite as adept at holding up Sivir. If Maokai's on top of Sivir during a fight and only Orianna is able to do damage to the other 4 members, that's a fight RNG loses unless Orianna has a massive stack of items, and with no snowballing, probably not going to happen anytime soon. So Let Me and Whoosh focusing the same target, assuming Black Cleaver is completed anytime soon, will be something for us to keep track of in team fights.
I mean, there's a lot to keep track of here. Mainly the MLXG has not been nearly as active as he was before as Uzi. That is a very precarious position to be in. Rek'Sai, though, coming down as well. And OMG want to try and take a fight. Yeah, teleport down for Xiang as well. Uzi still in the brush. Now going to finally unleash onto Whoosh. Culling goes down. Xiang's popped his Righteous Glory. Shui's in as well. Gets a massive 3-man knockup, and Whoosh starting to get low. Xiang gets the first kill there as Sivir goes down, but Rek'Sai is going to go down to now. Let Me going into Mega Knife bomb. Can he turn it around? No, ults him away. Xiang finds the twisted advance over. Amazing flashes in. 3-man shockwave there from Zhao, who's not quite enough in OMG. They won't get any other kills. In fact, just a trade.
The 1-for-1 trade, favorable if you're OMG because it's 80 carry for jungle, but surprisingly even, honestly, probably should have been punished more if you're RNG. It goes even, there's no dragon to pick up, so won't be punished in that regard. Love the play from Uzi, very reminiscent of last season, a top laner overstaying against Dignitas and just sapping experience in the top lane during the height of the turret trade meta. Just stood in the brush, wasn't checked. That's the fault of RNG on that one. and almost come out with a massive trade.
And Uzi, I think, really wishing he hadn't Infinity Edge in that last exchange, because was a little short on damage in that last exchange. So Whoosh has his Avarice Blade now, Dagger up as well. Just the boots one, but can quickly change that if he wants to. Infinity Edge now finally complete for Uzi. That gold's going to be a lot closer now here, but Uzi just been a little bit behind at every step here, and that is an unusual spot for this AD carry player to be in.
And returning to Let Me, he's actually gone for the Giant spots. He's going the more conservative build. Of course, Trinity Force or Black Cleaver will likely come in at some point, but must have felt threatened enough in that fight to go for the Giant spot over finishing the Kindle Gem.
I mean, Fate's just such a good early effective item. It's Xiang going to get aggressed on, but Shui Shui's joining in as well. Amazing's actually roamed in. The depth charge will move through. Kick's not quite enough as Let Me bounces over his own teammate to safety. Wallop goes down, but cannot save MLXG as Xiang gets that one.
Yeah, both of them tried to save each other. First, the Dragon Rage kicked them with the bounce, but no way to do it. One person had to fall, but they should be trading it in terms of turrets.
And Sivir, of course, never wants to leave a lane where there's an outer turret in it. Will take out the bottom side. Xiang, though, going to trade, and we're actually going to open up 2 for 1 turrets there in favor of OMG. Mid turrets still up, I believe, for both sides as Lei looks to try and steal away the red buff there and gift it over to Whoosh, but a tunnel will spot that out. It's going to be a little late, unfortunately, to try and get it, but OMG have got their foothold back into this game and went all square at about 20 minutes in.
I feel like OMG really need to opt into strong vision around this third dragon. They've got the timer, 1 minute 30. That's a lot of time to set up pinks, to set up greens, and ensure that you're face-checking a Cassiopeia if you want to contest this dragon if you're RNG. If you give RNG position on the dragon, which, you know, picking up the Scuttle Crab is a good first step towards getting, if you get another dragon, suddenly it's looking like a very early 5th dragon stack. It's looking at about 33 minutes into the game, assuming it's taken on spawn. RNG, they don't have a teleport on Let Me. I feel like the first person to actually trend towards the dragon will be the team that gets that advantage and has the 5 members early enough to set up unique vision.
And OMG have to hurry. They're running a really tight timing window here. They're actually going to give Cool blue buff. He's just completed his Seraphs now with the transformation happening. He's got an extra stack of AP with his Need to See Large Rod. He's going to push things out. Uzi's going to join him, and they're going to try and get to the dragon before it respawns. But Cool really needed blue buff to do this dragon. I think that was the last thing gating them from taking the objective. But they've got it now, but they're not going to get vision, and that's the trade-off they've been forced to make.
Yeah, they've, again, secured blue, but given up multitude of wards around the third dragon. Let Me walk straight down. They're obviously seeing that this is one of their main win conditions. Na's kind of lost in 2 minds. It looks like OMG don't want to contest given that Cool's been so far pushed in, but it also looks like there's the potential that no team will be assertive and Xiang will get off the hook and have his teleport available in about a minute and a half's time.
Yeah, both top laners actually trying to get that cooldown back, but they've walked down here by the looks of things. Amazing, gonna eat a hook, the shockwave down as well, and Amazing pops Titan's Wrath, Q's away, might just be safe enough. Cool, gonna come back in, but Let Me takes him out. Shui Shui gets a 2-man knock-up, but RNG just fighting in the choke now, calling out from Uzi, but Let Me now transforming into Maganar in any minute now. Going to get a bit of extra health back, and they can fight here. Cool, getting tagged by a Q. MLXG looking in. The ulti missing there from Cool. Flash play there from Lei. Whoosh takes the kill, and OMG lose 2 members. A key one at that as well, and that's going to be their 3rd dragon.
And RNG did a couple of things really smartly in that fight. Firstly, usually when a one-man shockwave is on a support, you might think, oh, what a waste of a team fight utility ultimate. Honestly, at this point in the game, it's not going to smash down multiple members, so it's best to force a 5v4. We already discussed the comps are very similar. In a 5v4 situation, it's going to be super hard to delay a dragon. And this continued again, getting the secondary pick. Lovely Lee Sin mechanics on MLXG. This is a champion we know he's comfortable on. Okay, it's not the prototypical Sin to help meta champion, but he pulls it off well.
I mean, it's just, you know, still does all the same Lee Sin things. Good early pressure, good early base damage, and Cool, who's had a fairly uninspiring game. Very neutral here with Xiaohu, but we've already talked about it. That's not the games that Cool has, that where his team finds wins. And Uzi, the consistent player who's been so good in wins or losses for OMG, been completely held down by the early pressure.
I think it just shows the savviness of Dade. Going for the tier into Giant Spell build allowed him to disrespect damage. The Cool can't. Cool has gone a super squishy build. Hasn't even gone for the Abyssal Scepter. It's gone pure ability power. You don't do a lot of damage when you're dead. That's one of the reasons that Dade loves the Merc trades, loves survivability. The base values are so high on Cassiopeia. Okay, if you have a massive AP stack and you get that last evolution of the passive, you do a lot of damage. But if you're squishy, again, you can be punished for it, and that's what's happened to Cool.
Good rotation, though, from OMG. Get themselves a turret in the mid lane. So starting to pick up a few more objectives. Actually up 3-1 in turrets is probably the best news here for OMG. And RNG's gold lead slim, but still there at about 600 gold or so. Xiaohu returns there. He's got a death cap completed on his Orianna plus his boots too. So RNG now going to look to counter push the mid turret and really open up space in this game.
We just need to do a quick history recap. Dade smashed a Orianna as Cassiopeia last game. And Xiaohu, okay, he's not smashing him, but he's certainly ahead.
I mean, keeping ahead in this sort of matchup really will show a lot to me for RNG, leaving Cassiopeia this late here. Cool. Both these players, I believe, Cool especially has already shown that he can play Cassiopeia, so it's pretty likely that he's going to pick it. For Xiaohu to think, okay, I trust in my Orianna, I trust in my ability as a laner, and my team to help me if I get behind. He's been just fine. He's now ahead as well. His team is just taking towers across the map. Woosh, especially with MLXG's pressure, has been unleashed in this game.
I think it tells you a lot about teams when they respect their players enough, like Dade, for example. Okay, we know that you're happy with this matchup. Leave up the LeBlanc because we know you can play Vladimir against it. To show that same confidence in a young player like Zhao, who has got a lot of untapped potential, but is confident enough to play into Cool's Cassiopeia with Orianna and do even or better, it shows that you can trust these players. It tells you a lot, whether you win or lose. And as a long season, I think just taking that approach, giving the benefit of the doubt and then reassessing afterwards is the sign of a team that's looking to improve and looking to get on the up.
I agree, and that's what both teams need to be looking for here. Lots of new players coming in, but the veteran players for OMG especially not quite holding their own. Uzi again been held down, but Cool. 0-1-0. It's not awful, but it's not great either. It's just not enough here for one of the big carries here for OMG. With Going leaving the team especially, you really look at OMG as more of a two-threat comp, especially while Xiang finds his feet in the top lane. I mean, Deathcap's done enough for Cassiopeia. Merctred has been finished up as well, but OMG need to start finding a big team fight, because otherwise those dragons especially just going to run away from them.
And there's always a team fight they can win. Orianna, a lot of counterplay against that champion, depending on how the shockwave is used, can be flashed away from, can be a non-factor. Sivir's damage, if she's able to have a really strong tank line, which she does, Randuin's Nara in this particular case, they need those two champions to do situational things. The Nara ultimate, another situation. Speaking of situations.
Yeah, Xiang going to fight in there. Depth charge used on Talay. Another pick onto his support. Going to give OMG some space, and they might just look to Baron. In fact, they've already started it.
All right, you need to start it here. Nara's already got a big split push going. There's no wards in the area. Woosh is already backed. Not an ideal trade. The teleport's baited out at least, so 4,000 health. They back away.
Oh, flash in there comes through. MLXG getting low, but doesn't quite die. Cool. Flashes in for the last Twin Fang and takes him out. That's 2 picks now, and OMG straight back to Baron.
It's going to return to the Baron. They didn't even lose the outer turret, sorry, the inner turret and bottom. They're baiting it at the moment. Notice there's no Rexa on this team. Are they confident enough to start it? Cool doesn't have blue. They see it as a risk too far. I think they could have gone for it, but they just back away.
I think so too, but again, Cool without blue has been the issue. He does take it there, but now it's too late to try and take the Baron. And RNG might even just get the counter push down mid lane. Woosh, we talk about Sivir really mowing down minion waves. She does it with turrets as well, and a good zoning ball there from Xiaohu means that Woosh can at least push another wave into the turret.
Certainly a lot of things to think about. Only really Amazing can walk through this and try and bait position, and he takes a huge burst.
Rek'Sai forced to come in aggressively. Xiang's actually teleported right onto Woosh. He's dived in there. Twisted Advance goes down, but it's 2v4 right now as they're trying to kill this Sivir. No one else from OMG can get in. Xiaohu gets picked off by Amazing somehow, but the shockwave comes in, hits under Cool and Uzi. Xiang still fighting in the back, and Cool is going to get Xiaohu now. MLXG looking to be the next target. Doesn't take the Lantern, has to go to Raptors instead, but Shui tunnels over. Great kick there, but Cool just takes the second kill instead. And it's a bit messy, but it's 3-1 up OMG.
Just good team fighting from OMG. They had their threats grouped together with the tank line. RNG were all over the place. They allowed Woosh to die. Awkwardly, Xiaohu was ahead of Woosh, who was dying in the backline, and then just they turned onto him, and he had no peel either. It was just really poor team spacing around this Baron that should eventually hand over a big team fight win to OMG.
MLXG not here, so no other smite to contest it. Cool actually will get it as Shui didn't even bother smiting, but OMG will secure the Baron. Dragons back up in 10 seconds, and with the empowered recalls coming through, they might just rush and contest for RNG's 4th dragon.
And this is something we were discussing off air, is the EDG happy to give up early dragons, and then assertive play around the Baron is what keeps them in the game. Contesting 4th dragon against Baron buff is risky for RNG. They're going to try and rush it down, but multiple members are very, very close.
Yeah, even if they get it, depending on what they lose, it might be a little too much. Wusha gets initiated on, gets chunked out to half health. Shui taking some damages. Lei almost falls as well. Let me try to build up. Red Xiang going deep into the backlines now, but Shockwave lands in defensively for Xiaohu, but he still can't grab the lantern. Goes down to Uzi. Lei dies as well to Xiang. And OMG, they're going to get the dragon if they want it, but 2 free kills as well.
It was just hidden hope from RNG. They didn't have any aggressive wars to see how many members and how close OMG was. OMG picks up the first dragon, which at 28 minutes with item stacks, going to be very relevant, those 6% statistics to go along with the Baron buff they already claimed. So much smart play in the early game from RNG, but a really poor team fight around Baron, and now some picks, and things look good for OMG.
And I talk about the biggest difference for RNG to almost any other current team in the LPL. No veterans, no shot callers, no experienced players that can really help this young team who clearly have a lot of individual mechanics and talent and a decent enough grasp on the game to get ahead against teams like OMG, despite, again, the fact that both teams are going through a transition period. But when it comes to late game team fighting, the synergy and chemistry is not quite there yet. I mean, you look at some of these players formerly on King, players like Woosh, players like Lemmy, have played together for quite a while with their jungler, but there's nothing on players like Cole and Uzi. Even though they haven't been together that long, they've got so much more experience, and it's really showing in these late game fights.
It's 3 out of 5 members come from that old King lineup, and I often speak about them in kind of hushed tones and with criticism. And it's because their shot calling was really poor, especially by LPL standards. Looked the worst shot calling team in a league with teams like Energy Pacemaker. Their shot calling was so apparent throughout the season and so poor. You add a young mid laner and a top laner to the lineup, and it doesn't feel like it's addressed that particular problem. So I think lots of high highs and low lows there for RNG this split.
And OMG just using some of that experienced team fighting quite well together in the mid and late stages, and the Baron buff here. You mentioned EDG already. They love to power down structures when they take the Baron, and OMG going to try and do exactly the same thing.
OMG never want to be a team playing catch-up, innovated meta upon meta in the last 2 years. But with this new lineup, no better team to look to than the current world champions in terms of MSI, depending on how you call that league.
Sure.
But still, winning the recent international tournament, they're the team to look at. They're the team to emulate. And if that's their inspiration, OMG, so far so good.
I mean, M3 were doing a lot of early Barons in week number 1, so I don't blame anyone for taking that strategy. That's clearly worked for that team all season long, and moving into this split now as well. Xiang zoning out on the Malco, very tanky at this stage with the Spirit Visage now completed as well alongside the Frozen Heart and the Righteous Glory. 3 damage items for Cool and Uzi as well means that OMG are team fight ready with about 5,000 gold ahead and plenty of pep in their step.
It is so much reliable backline threat with the Maokai and Rek'Sai. Cassiopeia and Lucian are going to out-damage Orianna and Siva, barring the most beautiful of all shockwaves. And with those items, it's a potential from Xiaohu, but now he's suddenly been arrested and is, in fact, maybe even slightly behind in damage compared to his opposite number, Cool. This feels like OMG's comp is more reliable. We mentioned they both have a very similar identity. Things like Baron buff kind of moved that over to one side and made it a bit wonky to really judge the power. But I think as the items step out, as the team come together, the big difference, Cool's going to be doing more damage than Xiaohu, unless perfect scenarios intended.
You can see shopping trips now coming through for OMG. QSS for Uzi. Random one's completed actually for Shui as well. And OMG couldn't quite get that much done with the Baron. Got a couple of turrets but didn't break the base. But will take the lead that they've got and reset for the next few fight points. And it might be another dragon that they'll stop. They've already got one. RNG didn't quite get the fourth, so couldn't continuously force OMG towards the threat of the fifth. And going to take things relatively slowly. Hopefully not M3 slow and try to close out this game from this point.
I like the fact that Woosh is actually focusing on a full damage build. As Siva as a 500 range 80 carry, you might think, okay, now you need to start going for the defense, specifically something like the QSS at this point in the game. But when you've got a death cap Orianna, when you're reliably going to be shielded in fights, I think you have to push on for the damage, especially in the low damage fight, especially with Let Me going full tank now at the top, which I still consider a mistake. 2-0 and 3, he hasn't died, but his team's hopes have somewhat died in the last 10 minutes. I feel like the Black Cleaver was less optional than Let Me's build might entail. With that extra, but with the AP shielding, I think you have to go Blade the Ruin King and just make the best of it.
And in the same vein, I like Cool's boot and chat here as well. Alacrity as Uzi might be called out. Boxland's in, McKay also in as well. And OMG now scattered across the terrain. Hook does not land for Amazing. Xiaohu zones them out with a ball, and OMG a very close kill that almost lands onto Uzi, but they'll stay as 5 for now.
Getting catches and rotations is so hard when Let Me joins the fight late, has no Gnar Rage Bar. You've only got the hook, and it went sideways in terms of CC. Now the box is down, so is Woosh's ultimate, and everything bar the culling up for OMG.
I mean, Shockwave there as well, so they need to try and find something here, but OMG are going to keep pressuring in. Might even fancy a dive, although it would be quite risky at this stage, and with minion waves looking to be prepped in the mid and top, OMG have plenty of space.
A lot of options.
Jeez, MLXG going in, but gets knocked up by Shui. Shockwave lands in. That's a big ultimate. Uzi's just on the edge of it. Needs to kite his way back in. Rek'Sai goes down, but Uzi's still alive. Cool is as well. He's going to turn on the damage. Xiaohu, though, takes out Uzi, but Cool's still there. There's the triple. Going to make it a quadra. Can he get the pentakill? Cool. Going to look for it. Needs to flash. Does get it, I believe. And there's the pentakill for Cassiopeia.
And that's the small difference between these comps, that there is hyper carry potential from a Cassiopeia. Unchecked with the full AP, super greedy build. He might not be sustainable, but while Uzi got all the attention, none went to Cool, and a pentakill was the result.
We talk about Cool needing to go off in OMG's wins. That is one way to go off on a champion. A pentakill for Cool. The poison, very troll there, but did manage to secure the last kill with the last few ticks of the dots, and Cool. Blue buff Ahoy going to steal that away as well. Dragon up in 10 seconds. OMG going to have to look for it, but Cool can feel pretty happy about that as Rek'Sai zooms in towards the Dragon Pit.
Story of consistent damage versus burst. The obvious story between Cassiopeia and Orianna. Clear winner that time was consistent damage. 2 consistent damage threats to 1. Let Me just not really managing to get the big Gnar ultimate. Black Cleaver is going to come soon. It's about 900 gold away. Maybe too late.
Maybe. I mean, he's got his Kindle Gem, but that's not enough here. Is pretty much still just full tank now for Let Me, and the rest of OMG are down here ready to fight as well. Rek'Sai very aggressively forward, but pretty tanky at this point with about 4,000 health, and OMG just going to force them onto this Baron. Let Me gets grabbed by Amazing. Culling comes through for Uzi. Xiang actually jumps onto MLXG of all people, but they're just trying to kite away the damage. Uzi will get the Dragon, and OMG, Xiang is tanking so much damage at this stage. MLXG will still chase in, but Xiang just not going to die, although Shockwave lands in. They really want it now, but now Shui commits. MLXG dives into the backline. A kill actually lands from Alka, but Uzi's going to get the first. The backline now in tatters for RNG, and OMG can kite their way back in. They've picked up 1-for-1 already, but I think they'll take the trade.
Tanky members, but Maokai, the super tank, is the only one to fall. They got the Dragon, though, so no need to over-pursue in this situation. No Rylai's coming through on Cassiopeia to really make chasing a trivial pursuit. They back away, and very even trade across the teams. Yep. Probably suits OMG.
Baron's back up as well, so do have to be careful not to give away that objective, but Rek'Sai going to keep farming up, gets a lot of life back there with the Fury stacking up. Going to go back, has some tunnels near the Baron, and with the Void Rush back up, will be just fine to get there in time, and RNG get some wards down, but have to go back after a very messy fight there as well. But OMG, like you said, got the Dragon, going to reset and look for this Baron, and pretty far behind now in gold at RNG, but they have to look to try and contest for the next big objective.
And Baron's going to be the next objective, as you mentioned. It just spawns. OMG's minion wave's certainly not prepped. Excellent minion wave pushes in top and bottom, which wasn't a king standard, but is actually organized in this game. Jojo has to counter this lane matchup and push it backwards in the bottom. We're waiting to see them eventually move towards Baron. They've had the solo vision over both Baron and Dragon ever since the third Dragon fell for RNG around the 20-minute mark. It's been 16 minutes of power for OMG. Business time in the game, business performance so far in the last 16 minutes by OMG.
And I like that you mentioned Black Cleaver earlier. Shui going to go back. Probably Spirit Visage, the item that he's looking to next. But with him just down there on the bottom side, I actually would love to see the item on Rek'Sai as well. We've seen it already in top lane, I believe, from Zatai on the top lane Rek'Sai there with the Black Cleaver, just split pushing all day long. And if we need to match split push threats, I guess Let Me didn't go for that just yet. Actually now finishes the item a little late, like you've said. But that's another option that we're starting to see from Rek'Sai players as well.
I think it's only really an option for lane Rek'Sai. You just don't have quite the income from the jungle. Maybe if you have a 6 snowball, but if Clear Love's shown anything, it's a Cinderhulk into multiple Giant Spell, maybe even a Snowball Warmogs. It's probably the more reliable option. I agree that it's nice on the kit, but it's only really when you're focusing on split pushing, which is really Rek'Sai's job from the top.
Well, MXG diving in again, but taking too much damage. Ulti from Nautilus denies him the lantern. Uzi calls him, and Xiang gonna dive into the back. Finds Let Me, wants to get someone a bit squishy. Maokai though so tanky as Cassiopeia's damage just going off, and Uzi playing in the front lines like a Graves here. Dives into the back, gonna take out Woosh, gets the kill. Let Me gonna fall to Cool, and Xiaohu, the only one left. He doesn't have his ulti, and a double kill for Cassiopeia means OMG might just close it out.
And again, we talked about how important it was for Xiang to pick up a comfortable champion like Maokai as a player transitioning to top. It's no coincidence that 20 out of 21 kill participation for the Maokai. Been very reliable in that champion. Going to teleport in as they look to close out the game. And you don't need a Black Cleaver on your X side, top or jungle, when you have so much damage from both your two carries.
Yeah, plenty of damage from Cool and Uzi, the two big threats here from OMG.
There's the last passive.
Yep, they will back away as Cool fully powers up now, and Cassiopeia has...
Waiting to see that AP value.
Yeah, about 1 million. That's my guess.
I would say 809.
That's a lot.
That's my guess. We're gonna mouse over to Cassiopeia eventually and see a really big number.
Well, maybe not. Here is actually another fight. Might have broken out. Xiang and Cool actually zoning them away, but no vision on the Baron buff makes it hard for RNG to contest, especially with Nara and Siva still stuck in the base. Again, it's a bit chaotic there for OMG, but they'll take away the Baron, keep everyone safe here, and go back and try and find a last push here, because OMG at this point, well and truly 10,000 gold ahead. Baron buff ready to go. Dragon's not going to be here, and honestly, I don't think it's going to respawn before OMG have finished the game.
This big 3,000 gold advantages across the board. We've seen this a few times tonight. Only person really keeping competitive, I'd have to say, is the supports. But again, not really a big consideration between the two. With two lineups fairly similar in everything they do, barring, as we mentioned, more guaranteed damage in the late game from Cassiopeia compared to Orianna. That is, that's 4 figures.
Yeah, that's a lot. 1,129 AP, I believe. That is with Baron buff, and Azoni is now finished up as well, plus another need to see large draw. But Cool's not mucking around. That's a lot of AP.
Whenever you get over 1,000, it's either comical Veigar standards or it's just a Cassiopeia that's gone off. And when you go the full damage build, go for the most selfish, highest AP values possible. 4 figures is attainable. And,
you know, Cool's KDA reflects that in this game as well. 10, 1, and 3 on the Cassiopeia. I almost teased him about it, saying, hey, you got to carry for this team. You're now officially a 2-threat comp, I think, as far as the current roster goes. Definitely haven't seen enough from the new players to say anything other than that. And Cool, he's proved us right here as well. Uzi, I would actually say, had a surprisingly poor game so far, despite picking it up in towards the team fight. So really letting that positioning and team fight ability show off. But it has been all Cool all the time. Pentakill or no.
It's an OMG lineup that usually needs, I mean, usually when it's Uzi-centric, and a lot of the results are mired around Uzi's performance. It hasn't been that case, but honestly, OMG have always been about Cool. He's always been the main carry. You look down his KDAs and wins and losses. It's no coincidence that when he goes off, OMG win, and when he plays poorly, OMG lose, regardless of what's happening in the bottom lane. This looks like it's going to be the last big fight.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to dive in, but that's too much damage. Big shockwave, though, is Cool. Pops us on his to avoid it, and the carry's still alive. Big ult there from Cool. Clean up coming in. Mikhail saves Shui. Xiaohu not so lucky as Xiang's going to chase him down, tanking up the turret. Might be able to get another kill. Cool actually almost dies, but Uzi just going to work on finishing the game before anything else goes wrong.
And just multiple members, 5 members being alive. There's the aggressive flash.
Yeah, Uzi goes full Uzi and pays for it, actually. OMG might not be able to finish yet.
Yeah, just a bit too cute from Uzi. Wanted to go for the highlight reel play. They have to back away. Crucially didn't even take the turret, only now getting the inhibitor. Gonna have to back away. Should have been a 41-minute win, but Uzi just had to get too cute.
Yep, that next dragon will be up. So OMG will take it here with MLXG. Still down for 10 seconds along with Thresh and Let Me, who's about double that behind as far as the death timers go. These two do a lot of damage, and Shockwave's coming back up, so they might be able to take this, but Cool setting a trap, and so Xiang, in fact, they're not even doing the dragon.
Yeah, they're trying to get in Chilling Smite range here. Not able to do it.
Oh, Cool, if he'd hit that poison. That was a very dead Orianna. Actually just going to die anyway as Cool able to pick up that kill. Xiaohu, little too cute, didn't even hit the shockwave that he wanted. Teleport going to come in as well, but Let Me can't do anything against his Cassiopeia, but the rest of his team might be able to. Xiang taking nicely. Cool, massive ulti there, stuns onto 3. He's going to clean up once again, and RNG throw themselves at OMG, but it's all for naught.
And that other thing about having 4-figure AP is that you sustain unbelievably. They move back, but the surrender comes in quickly. And OMG, in a game of 2 halves, RNG looked good in the early game. We mentioned the fact that they were very burst-strong. They need to hit their rotations. A couple of picks snowballed the game too far into the advantage, and Maokai always pressuring the Orianna meant there was never the huge Orianna wombo comp until it just really was too late.
Yeah, and cool there. Hair might be messy, but play was not. Looking fairly stoic, I have to say, after that victory. Uzi actually smiling after every single game, it seems like. Win, loss, or draw, Uzi's having a grand old time playing League of Legends. But don't let that fool you. That aggressive streak there that dashed him in and almost lost his team.